My name is Leah, and I'm 32 years old. Right now, I'm standing in the bridal suite of a beautiful vineyard, helping with the final touches on my younger brother Marcus's wedding day. My hands are trembling slightly as I adjust the roses in the bouquet, and there's this strange feeling in my chest that I can't quite explain. My husband David is somewhere around here helping the groomsmen, and everything should be perfect. But something feels off. Before I continue with what happened next, I'd love to know where you're watching from today. If family drama stories resonate with you, please consider subscribing. Now let me tell you how one wedding changed everything. The morning had started so beautifully at the Rosewood Vineyard in Napa Valley. The October sun was casting golden light through the old oak trees, and you could smell the grapes ripening on the vines, mixed with the hundreds of white roses we'd arranged everywhere. Marcus, my baby brother who's 5 years younger than me, was getting married to Sophia, and I couldn't have been happier for them. I'd always been protective of Marcus. After our parents divorced when he was 15 and I was 20, I sort of took on this maternal role with him. Dad remarried Patricia pretty quickly, and Mom stayed single, throwing herself into her work. Marcus and I became each other's constants through all of that chaos. When he met Sophia 3 years ago at a tech conference in San Francisco, I watched him transform. He went from this shy, somewhat cynical guy to someone who literally glowed when he talked about her. Sophia was everything I'd hoped for in a sister-in-law. She was warm, intelligent, worked as a marketing director, and most importantly, she made Marcus laugh in a way I hadn't heard since before our parents' divorce. My own marriage to David had been going strong for 7 years. At least that's what I told myself. Lately, there'd been this distance between us that I attributed to his increasing responsibilities at my father's investment firm. He'd been working late, traveling more for business, and when he was home, he seemed distracted. But marriages go through phases, right? That's what everyone says. That morning in the bridal suite, Sophia was radiant. Her dress was this flowing ivory creation with delicate beadwork that caught the light every time she moved. Her sister Emma was there as her maid of honor, and I was Marcus's best woman, which felt perfectly fitting given our relationship. Leah, you have to hear this story, Sophia said, her eyes sparkling as the makeup artist worked on her lashes. Tell her about the proposal, Emma. Emma smiled, though something flickered across her face that I couldn't quite read. Marcus set up this elaborate scavenger hunt through all the places they'd had their firsts. First date, first kiss, first I love you. It ended at the conference room where we met, Sophia continued, practically bouncing in her chair. He'd recreated the whole setup from that day, down to the terrible coffee and stale donuts. And then he got down on one knee right where we'd first shaken hands. I felt my eyes tearing up. That's so Marcus. He acts all tough, but he's such a romantic. Speaking of romantic, Sophia said, turning to me, where's that handsome husband of yours David promised Marcus he'd help with the cufflinks situation? I checked my phone. There was a text from David sent 20 minutes ago. He says he's with the guys. Apparently Marcus's cufflinks went missing and they're using the backup pair. Crisis averted then, Emma said, but she was looking at her phone with a frown. I reached into my purse and pulled out a small velvet box. Sophia, I have something for you. Her eyes widened as I opened it to reveal my grandmother's pearl bracelet. This was my grandmother Rose's. She wore it at her wedding in 1952, and she always said it brought her luck. 70 years of marriage kind of proves her point. Sophia's eyes filled with tears. Leah, I can't. This is too precious. Your family now, I said, clasping it around her wrist. Grandma Rose would have loved you. She had this saying that you could judge a person by how they treated the people who could do nothing for them. I've watched you with Marcus's anxiety, with his struggles after the divorce, and you've never once made him feel less than. That's rare. We hugged, careful not to mess up her hair or makeup. The photographer was snapping away, capturing these moments that were supposed to be the beginning of something beautiful. Ladies, we need to start heading down, the wedding coordinator announced, poking her head into the suite. Ceremony starts in 30 minutes. As we gathered our bouquets and did final touch-ups, I noticed Sophia checking her phone repeatedly. Each time her expression would shift slightly, a tiny furrow appearing between her eyebrows. Everything okay? I asked. Oh, yes, just wedding day jitters, she said, but her laugh sounded forced. Emma, have you heard from Tom? Is he here yet? Emma's husband Tom had been delayed on a business trip, supposedly arriving just in time for the ceremony. He texted that he's parking now, Emma said, though she didn't look at any of us when she said it. The coordinator ushered us toward the door, and we made our way down the vineyard's stone pathway toward the ceremony space. The venue had outdone themselves. White chairs were arranged in perfect rows adorned with baby's breath and lavender. An arch of roses and eucalyptus framed the spot where Marcus and Sophia would exchange vows, with the rolling hills of Napa Valley as the backdrop. Guests were already seated, a sea of pastels and summer colors, despite it being October. I spotted my parents sitting on opposite sides of the aisle, maintaining their distance even at their son's wedding. Patricia was with my father, wearing a dress that was trying a bit too hard to look young. My mother sat with her sister, my Aunt Janet, looking elegant in navy blue. 15 minutes, ladies, the coordinator announced. Bridesmaids, let's get you in position. That's when I noticed Emma wasn't with us. Where's Emma? I asked Sophia, looking around the gathering area where the wedding party was supposed to line up. Sophia's face went pale beneath her makeup. She said she needed to fix her lipstick. She'll be right back. But that was 20 minutes ago, I said, checking my phone. Do you want me to go check on her? No, Sophia said quickly, too quickly. I mean, she texted me. She's coming. Something about her dress needing a safety pin. Something in Sophia's voice made my stomach twist. It was the same tone Marcus used to have when he was hiding his report cards in high school. We lined up anyway, the other 3 bridesmaids, chatting nervously about their walks down the aisle. I kept glancing back toward the bridal suite, expecting to see Emma hurrying toward us. The musicians were already in place, the string quartet warming up with soft classical pieces. I need to check something, I told Sophia, but as I turned to leave, my heel caught in a crack in the stone path. The delicate strap snapped clean off. Oh no, one of the bridesmaids gasped. It's fine, I have backup shoes in the suite, I said, secretly grateful for an excuse to go back. I'll be 2 minutes. I hobbled back up the path, holding my broken shoe. The bridal suite was supposed to be empty, but as I approached, I heard a voice. It was Sophia's phone left behind on the vanity, and someone was leaving a voicemail. The door was cracked, and I pushed it open. Sophia was there, having apparently run back too. She had her phone pressed to her ear, her free hand gripping the edge of the vanity so hard her knuckles were white. Not today, she was whispering urgently. Please just wait. After the honeymoon we can figure this out, but not today. She spun around when she heard me ending the call immediately. Leah, I forgot my something borrowed, she said, her voice artificially bright. She grabbed a random hairpin from the vanity. The coordinator was being dramatic about the timing. We have plenty of time. Who was on the phone? I asked, trying to keep my voice casual as I slipped on my backup shoes. The catering manager. Some confusion about the vegetarian meals, she said, but she wouldn't meet my eyes. We should get back. We walked back together in silence. The unease I'd felt all morning was now a full-blown alarm in my chest. When we reached the lineup area, Emma was there, but she looked wrong. Her makeup had been reapplied, but hastily. Her mascara was slightly smudged under her left eye, and her lipstick was a different shade than before. She was staring at the ground, her bouquet trembling in her hands. Emma, are you okay? I asked. She looked up at me with eyes that were too bright, like she was about to cry. Wedding emotions, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. You know how it is. Before I could respond, the coordinator was pushing us into position. The music changed to the processional, and suddenly everything was in motion. The bridesmaids started their walks one by one down the aisle. I scanned the groomsmen lined up at the altar. Marcus was there, beaming, looking more handsome than I'd ever seen him in his charcoal gray suit. His best friend James was beside him, and the other groomsmen were in position. But David wasn't there. My heart started racing. Where was my husband? Leah, you're up, the coordinator whispered. I started down the aisle, my professional smile in place, even as my eyes searched the crowd. There, in the third row on Marcus's side, I finally spotted David. He was sitting down, which was strange since he was supposed to be standing with the groomsmen. His face was flushed and he was staring at his phone, typing frantically. When I reached the altar, Marcus leaned over. "You okay, sis?" "Where's David?" "Why isn't he up here?" "Ring emergency," Marcus whispered back. He offered to hold on to them since I don't trust James after the bachelor party incident, but then he couldn't find them. He just got back from searching the car. The music swelled, and everyone stood. Sophia appeared at the end of the aisle with her father, and she was breathtaking. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. David still wouldn't look at me. Emma was gripping her bouquet so tight, I thought she might snap the stems. My phone tucked discreetly in my bouquet arrangement vibrated, then vibrated again. And again. The ceremony was beautiful, or it should have been. Sophia glided down the aisle like she was floating, her father beaming beside her with tears in his eyes. When they reached the altar, he kissed her cheek and placed her hand in Marcus's with such tenderness that several guests were already reaching for tissues. The officiant, one of Marcus's college friends who'd gotten ordained online, began with a warm welcome. His words about love and commitment washed over me as I tried to focus on my brother's joy instead of the insistent buzzing of my phone hidden in my bouquet. Marcus couldn't take his eyes off Sophia. The way he looked at her like she was his entire world made my chest tight with a mixture of happiness and something else I couldn't name. When had David last looked at me that way? I pushed the thought aside. This wasn't about me. "Marcus and Sophia have written their own vows," the officiant announced. "Marcus, would you like to begin?" My brother pulled out a piece of paper from his pocket, his hands shaking slightly. "Sophia," he began, his voice strong and clear. 3 years ago, I was convinced I'd be single forever. I was cynical about love, convinced that what happened to my parents would happen to me. Then you walked into that conference room, made fun of the terrible coffee, and completely destroyed every wall I'd built." A soft laugh rippled through the crowd. Sophia was crying already, not even trying to stop the tears. "You didn't just make me believe in love," Marcus continued. "You made me believe I was worthy of it. Every day with you has been an adventure, from our food poisoning incident in Thailand to getting lost in IKEA for 3 hours. You're my best friend, my partner, my home. I promise to love you through every adventure and misadventure, through every IKEA trip and food poisoning incident, through everything life throws at us. I promise to be honest with you, to support your dreams, and to always make you laugh even when you're mad at me, especially when you're mad at me." More laughter, more tears. I glanced at David again. He was staring straight ahead now, his jaw clenched so tight I could see the muscle twitching. "Sophia," the officiant said gently. "Your vows?" Sophia handed her bouquet to Emma, who took it with shaking hands. Sophia pulled out her own paper, took a deep breath, and began. "Marcus, you say I destroyed your walls, but the truth is, you destroyed mine too. I'd gotten so good at being independent, at not needing anyone, that I'd forgotten what it felt like to want someone. To choose someone, not because I needed them, but because life is simply better with them in it." Her voice cracked slightly on the word honesty, and she paused, swallowing hard. "I promise to be your partner in all things, to stand by you through the good and the bad, to be your safe place when the world feels too much. I promise to—" She faltered again, glancing quickly at Emma, then back to Marcus. "I promise to love you with everything I have, to choose you every single day, and to build a life with you based on trust and—" The word hung in the air. Honesty. She couldn't seem to say it. My phone buzzed again, this time continuously, like someone was calling. Then it stopped, then immediately started again. "The rings," the officiant prompted, breaking the awkward pause. James stepped forward with the rings, having apparently been given them by David at some point. As Marcus slipped the band onto Sophia's finger, my phone lit up with a text preview visible even tucked in the flowers. Unknown number. "Check the garden shed now." I tried to ignore it, but then another came through. "Your husband. Emergency." My heart stopped. What if something had happened? What if David was sick? He had looked flushed and uncomfortable. As discreetly as possible, I leaned toward Marcus. I need to check something. Emergency. His eyes widened slightly, but he nodded. I handed my bouquet to the bridesmaid beside me and slipped away from the altar, trying to make it look like I was adjusting Sophia's train that had gotten caught on something. Instead, I walked quickly toward the side of the venue where the gardens were. My heels clicked against the stone path as I half ran toward the old garden shed the venue used for storing equipment. The door was slightly ajar, and I could hear voices inside. Familiar voices. I pushed the door open. The scene inside broke my brain for a moment. It was like looking at a puzzle where the pieces were all there but arranged wrong. David was there pressed against the wall. Emma was there too. Her bridesmaid dress hiked up around her thighs, her lips swollen and red. They were tangled together in a way that left no room for misinterpretation. They sprang apart when the door opened. David's face went from flush to ghost white in a second. Emma let out a small scream, pulling her dress down frantically. "Leah!" David started, his voice strangled. "This isn't... I can explain." Emma was crying now, mascara running in black rivers down her cheeks. Oh God, please, Leah. Please don't ruin the wedding. Please." I couldn't speak. I literally couldn't make words come out of my mouth. The world was tilting, spinning, fragmenting into pieces that didn't make sense. David, my David, with Emma, with Sophia's sister. David reached for me and I jerked back so violently I hit the doorframe. "Don't," I managed to whisper. "Don't you dare touch me." "Leah, please let me explain," he said desperately. "It's not what it looks like." "It's not what it looks like," I repeated, my voice rising hysterically. "What else could it possibly look like, David?" Emma was sobbing, now collapsed on an overturned bucket. "Please, Leah. It's Sophia's wedding. Please don't destroy this. I'm begging you." I looked between them, these two people who had just shattered my world, and felt something inside me break. Not dramatically, not explosively, but quietly, like a thread finally giving way after being pulled too tight for too long. Without another word, I turned and walked back to the ceremony. I could hear them calling after me, but their voices sounded far away, like I was underwater. When I reached the altar, everyone turned to look at me. I must have looked wrong because Marcus's face immediately creased with concern. He mouthed, "You okay?" I nodded, taking my place again, retrieving my bouquet. The ceremony continued. Rings were exchanged. The officiant pronounced them husband and wife. Marcus kissed Sophia and everyone erupted in applause, and I stood there smiling while my world burned down around me. The cocktail hour was held on the vineyard's stone terrace overlooking the valley as the sun began its descent toward the horizon. Servers circulated with trays of champagne and hors d'oeuvres, while the string quartet played soft jazz. Everyone was laughing, celebrating, toasting the happy couple. I stood at the edge of it all, gripping a champagne flute I hadn't taken a sip from, watching David work the crowd like nothing had happened. He'd fixed his appearance somehow, straightened his tie, smoothed his hair. He was talking to my father and some business associates, gesturing animatedly about something, probably markets or portfolios or whatever lie he was spinning now. Every few seconds his eyes would dart to me, then away when he saw I was looking. Emma had disappeared entirely. Sophia kept scanning the crowd, her smile growing more strained as she couldn't locate her sister. "There you are," Marcus said, appearing at my elbow. "What was the emergency? You look like you'd seen a ghost when you came back." I turned to my baby brother, took in his happiness, his joy, the way he kept glancing at Sophia like he couldn't believe she was real. How could I destroy this? How could I tell him that his wedding was built on a foundation of lies? "Marcus, we need to talk," I said quietly. "Privately." "Later, sis," he said, squeezing my shoulder. "Right now, I need you to help me with something. Sophia can't find Emma and she's starting to panic. The reception starts in 20 minutes. Marcus, this is important." "So is my wedding," he said, but not unkindly. "Whatever it is, it can wait 2 hours. Please, Leah. This is the happiest day of my life." He walked away before I could respond, heading toward Sophia to comfort her. I watched him whisper something in her ear that made her laugh. watched him kiss her forehead tenderly. My little brother, who'd spent years convinced he'd end up alone and bitter like our parents. We need to talk. I didn't turn around. I knew David's voice, had known it for 10 years. We'd met when I was 22, fresh out of college at a friend's birthday party. He'd been charming, persistent, everything a girl thinks she wants. There's nothing to talk about, I said flatly. 5 years, he said quietly, so quietly I almost missed it. It's been going on for 5 years, Leah. The champagne glass slipped from my hand, shattering on the stone. Several guests turned to look, but quickly resumed their conversations when they saw it was just a dropped glass. A server immediately appeared to clean it up, tisking sympathetically about wedding day nerves. 5 years, I whispered, the math spinning in my head. That's before Marcus even met Sophia. The conference in Vegas, David said, stepping closer but still maintaining distance. The one where your father sent me to scout investment opportunities. Emma was there representing her company. We met at the hotel bar. 5 years. 5 years of lies. 5 years of betrayal. 5 years of me being a fool. Every business trip, I asked, though I already knew the answer. Not everyone, but most. Our anniversary trip to Hawaii last year. She was at a conference in Maui. We met up twice. I was going to be sick. I pressed my hand to my stomach, trying to hold myself together. Does her husband know? Tom, no. He's clueless. Thinks she's devoted to him. And Sophia? David's silence was answer enough. How long has she known? I don't know. Emma said she found out recently but agreed to keep quiet until after the wedding. The wedding coordinator appeared, ushering everyone toward the reception hall. I moved mechanically, David trailing behind me, both of us playing our parts in this twisted performance. The reception hall was magical. Twinkling lights were strung across the ceiling like stars. Centerpieces of roses and peonies adorned each table. The band was set up on a small stage, already playing background music. Marcus and Sophia's table was elevated, slightly overlooking their guests, like a king and queen surveying their court. I was seated at the head table, of course, right next to Marcus. David was supposed to be there too, but his place card had mysteriously moved to a table with other colleagues from the firm. Emma's seat remained empty. The band leader tapped the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome for the first time Mr. and Mrs. Marcus Chen. The room erupted in applause as Marcus and Sophia entered, beaming and waving. They took their seats, and immediately the toasts began. Sophia's father went first, talking about how he knew Marcus was the one when he saw how Sophia smiled when she talked about him. Then my father, stiff and formal, welcomed Sophia to the family. Then it was my turn. I stood on legs that felt like water, taking the microphone with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. The room fell silent, expectant, waiting for the maid of honor to gush about love and happiness. Love, I began, my voice surprisingly steady, is about trust. It's about believing that the person you've chosen will honor the promises they make, not just in the big moments, but in all the small ones too. I looked directly at David as I spoke. He was pale, gripping his water glass. Marcus and Sophia, I continued, turning to them. Your love has been tested by distance, by family complications, by all the challenges life throws at young couples. But you've chosen each other again and again. That choice, that daily decision to be honest, to be faithful, to be true, that's what makes a marriage. Sophia had gone very still, her smile frozen in place. To the happy couple, I raised my glass. May your marriage be built on truth. May your love weather every storm, and may you always remember that honesty, even when it hurts, is the greatest gift you can give each other. The room applauded, though there was an uncertain quality to it, like people weren't quite sure what they'd just heard. I sat down and Marcus leaned over. You okay? That was pretty intense. Before I could answer, Sophia stood abruptly. Has anyone seen Emma? She's supposed to give a toast, too. I need to powder my nose, a voice said from the back. Emma had appeared, slipping into the room like a ghost. Her makeup had been completely redone. Her dress changed to a different one entirely, though still in the same bridesmaid color. Emma, Sophia called out. but her sister was already disappearing toward the restrooms. Marcus stood, then taking the microphone. The room fell silent immediately. "Before we continue with dinner," he said, his voice carrying clearly through the hall, "I have something important to share with everyone." My stomach dropped. The tone in his voice was wrong. This wasn't the tone of a happy groom about to thank his guests. This was the tone he'd used when he told me about failing his first semester of college, when he'd admitted to crashing Dad's car, when he'd confessed that he knew about Dad's affair before Mom did. "You see," Marcus continued, his eyes scanning the room, landing on David, then Emma's empty chair, then Sophia. "I believe in truth. I believe that the people we love deserve honesty, even when that honesty is painful." Sophia's face had gone white. "Marcus, what are you doing?" "What I should have done 2 months ago," he said. Then he pulled out his phone, connecting it to the reception hall's AV system. "But I wanted to be absolutely certain first." The lights dimmed and the projection screen behind the band lit up. Security footage began to play. It was grainy but clear enough. A hotel hallway. David and Emma entering a room together. The timestamp showed 3 months ago. The room gasped collectively. I heard my mother let out a small cry. David shot to his feet, but 2 men I didn't recognize stepped forward, blocking his path to the exit. "That's not all," Marcus said, his voice deadly calm. Another video. A restaurant, David and Emma kissing over dinner. Another timestamp 2 months ago. Then another and another. The evidence was overwhelming, undeniable, devastating. "But here's the truly interesting part," Marcus said, switching to a new image. It was from today, this morning, timestamp showing 6:45 a.m. The garden shed. Sophia was there, watching through a crack in the door as David and Emma were entangled inside. She stood there for a full minute, then walked away without saying anything. The room exploded. Guests were shouting, standing, some trying to leave. Sophia's parents were demanding answers. My father was on his phone, probably calling lawyers. My mother was crying. And through it all, Marcus stood calm in the center of the storm he'd created. "You knew," I found myself standing facing Sophia. "You knew what they were doing, and you said nothing." Sophia stood frozen at the head table, her bouquet dropping from her hands onto the pristine white tablecloth. The reception hall had descended into chaos around us, but she and I were locked in a bubble of terrible clarity. "I found out 3 weeks ago," she said, her voice barely audible over the shouting. "Emma left her phone at my apartment. The messages were all there. Everything." 3 weeks, I repeated. 3 weeks you knew my husband was sleeping with your sister, and you said nothing. "I confronted Emma," Sophia said desperately. "She promised it would end after the wedding. She said they just needed to get through today, and then it would be over. I thought if I could just make it through the wedding, everything would work out." Marcus stepped down from the microphone, walking slowly toward his bride. "You thought a wedding built on lies would work out. I didn't want to lose you." Sophia was sobbing now. "I love you, Marcus. That's real. That has nothing to do with them." "It has everything to do with them," Marcus said quietly. "You knew Leah's husband was betraying her. You knew your sister was destroying 2 marriages. And you chose to protect the lie instead of the people being hurt by it." My father had stood up, his face purple with rage. "David, you're finished. Security fraud. I can prove it all. Every fake business trip, every falsified expense report. You've been embezzling from my company to fund your affair." David, who'd been silent until now, finally spoke. "You can't prove anything, Richard." Marcus laughed, but it was bitter hollow. "Actually, he can." He pulled a folder from inside his jacket, thick with papers. 2 months ago, when I first suspected something was wrong, I hired a private investigator, then a forensic accountant. "David, you've stolen over $150,000 over the past 5 years. It's all here. Every receipt, every false invoice, every dirty penny." The security guards, who I now realized weren't venue staff, but private security Marcus had hired, moved closer to David. "Tom!" someone shouted from the back of the room. Emma's husband had stood up from his table, his face a mask of devastation. "Emma, is this true?" Emma had returned from the bathroom, stopping dead when she saw the screen still displaying the security footage. "Tom, I can explain." 5 years. Tom's voice broke. 5 years you've been lying to me." "It wasn't supposed to happen," Emma said weakly. "It just did." "Oh, and here's another interesting detail," Marcus said, his voice carrying over the chaos. "Emma, would you like to tell everyone about your pregnancy, or should I—" The room went silent. Even the shouting stopped. Emma's hand went to her stomach instinctively. "How did you—" "The private investigator is very thorough," Marcus said. 3 months pregnant according to the clinic records. And according to the timeline, well, it could be either Tom's or David's. Tom collapsed back into his chair. David's face had gone from pale to green. I felt like I was watching everything from very far away, like this was happening to someone else. "I need everyone to leave," Marcus announced. "The reception is over. Family only stays." People began filing out, whispers and shocked murmurs following them. Within minutes, only the immediate families remained. The beautiful reception hall looked like a battlefield, overturned chairs and abandoned champagne glasses littering the tables. Sophia's father approached Marcus. "You planned this. You knew all along and you went through with the ceremony." "I found out 2 months ago," Marcus said. "I suspected for 6 months. Little things didn't add up. Charges on our joint credit card for hotels when Emma was supposedly home. David always being on business trips that coincidentally matched Emma's travel schedule." "But why go through with it?" Sophia's mother asked, tears streaming down her face. "Because I loved Sophia enough to give her a chance to do the right thing," Marcus said, looking at his bride. "When the investigator told me she knew I waited 3 weeks for her to tell me the truth. Instead, she helped them hide it." "Marcus, please," Sophia begged. "We can work through this. Couples therapy, whatever you want." Marcus pulled out another set of papers from his jacket. "Annulment papers, already filled out. The lawyer says we have grounds fraud and concealment of material facts." "You never intended to stay married to me," Sophia whispered. "This whole thing, the ceremony, it was all for show." "No," Marcus said sadly. "Until this morning, I still had hope. When I saw the security footage of you watching them in the shed and walking away, that's when I knew. You'll choose appearance over truth every time." "I was protecting everyone," Sophia screamed. "I was trying to keep our families from falling apart." "No," I said, finding my voice. "You were protecting yourself. You were protecting your perfect wedding, your perfect image." David tried to approach me then. "Leah, we need to talk about this privately." "Don't come near me," I said. "Don't ever come near me again." "I'm calling the police," my father announced, his phone already out. "Embezzlement, fraud, theft. You're going to prison, David." "Dad, wait," I said. Everyone turned to look at me. "Let him go." "Leah, he stole from us," my father said. "I know, but I want him gone more than I want him punished. David, you have 1 hour to leave. Take nothing but your clothes. If you fight the divorce, if you contest anything, Dad makes that call." David looked at Emma. "What about the baby?" Emma's hand was still on her stomach. "That's between you and Tom." Tom stood up, then surprisingly calm. "There's nothing to discuss. Emma, I'll have divorce papers drawn up by Monday. As for the baby, if it's mine, I'll want full custody. If it's his," he looked at David with disgust, "then that's your problem to solve." "You can't just take my baby," Emma protested. "Watch me," Tom said coldly. 5 years of lies. You're lucky I'm not pressing charges for emotional distress." Marcus walked over to me, pulling me into a hug. "I'm sorry, Leah. I'm so sorry you had to find out this way." "How long have you really known?" I asked into his shoulder. "Confirmed 2 months, but I've suspected something was wrong for longer. You've been different. Sadder. I hired the investigator originally to prove David wasn't cheating to give you peace of mind. Instead you found all this," I finished. "The wedding photographer," Marcus said. "He's actually the private investigator. Every conversation near the DJ booth has been recorded. The security guards are off-duty cops. I documented everything for the criminal case and your divorce. You sacrificed your wedding for me, I said, pulling back to look at him. You sacrificed your childhood for me, he replied. After Mom and Dad divorced, you held me together. You were 20 and you became my parent, my protector, my best friend. This is the least I could do. Sophia had collapsed into a chair, her wedding dress pooling around her like a deflated cloud. So what happens now? Now everyone goes home, Marcus said. Tomorrow we start cleaning up the mess. David, your hour started 5 minutes ago. David left without another word, not even looking at Emma. Emma ran after him, calling his name, but he didn't stop. Her parents followed her, her mother crying hysterically. Soon it was just Marcus, me, our parents, and Sophia with her parents. The marriage is really over, Sophia asked quietly. It never really began, Marcus said. I'll make sure you're taken care of financially. The apartment is yours, but we're done. Sophia stood her dignity somehow intact despite everything. For what it's worth, I did love you. I know, Marcus said. That's what makes this so much worse. She left with her parents, the train of her dress dragging behind her like a ghost. 6 months have passed since that explosive October wedding, and life looks completely different now. I'm sitting in my new apartment downtown, a cozy 2-bedroom with exposed brick walls and large windows that let in the morning light. It's smaller than the house David and I shared, but it's mine, and that makes all the difference. The divorce was finalized 3 months ago. David didn't contest anything, couldn't really, with the embezzlement charges hanging over his head. He took a plea deal, 3 years in minimum security prison, and has to pay back every penny he stole. The last I heard from my father, David's working in the prison library teaching literacy classes. Maybe he'll become a better person in there, but that's not my concern anymore. Emma's baby was born 2 weeks ago, a little girl. The paternity test confirmed David is the father, which shouldn't have been a surprise, but somehow still stung. Tom went through with the divorce and got full custody of their 4-year-old son. Emma's living with her parents, now trying to raise a newborn alone while David serves his sentence. He hasn't acknowledged the baby, hasn't even asked to see pictures. Some part of me feels sorry for that little girl growing up without a father, but Emma made her choices. Sophia moved to Seattle almost immediately after the annulment was finalized. She sent Marcus a letter last month that he shared with me. She wrote about starting therapy, about understanding now how her need for perfection, for maintaining image at all costs, came from growing up with parents who valued appearance over authenticity. She said she was working on being more honest, more real. She ended it with, I loved you, Marcus, but I loved the image of us more. I see that now. You deserve someone who loves you more than they love the idea of you. Marcus took it hard at first. For about 2 months, he was a shell of himself, going through the motions of work and life, but not really present. He started therapy too, working through trust issues and the guilt he felt about the public humiliation of the wedding. Then 3 months ago, he met Grace. She's a kindergarten teacher at the school near his office, and they literally ran into each other at a coffee shop, him spilling his entire latte on her lesson plans. She laughed it off, helped him clean up, and they ended up talking for 3 hours. She's nothing like Sophia quiet, where Sophia was loud, simple, where Sophia was complicated. She wears her heart on her sleeve, couldn't lie if she tried. Marcus is taking it slow, but I can see the light coming back into his eyes. We've gotten closer, Marcus and I, closer than we've been since we were kids. We have dinner every Wednesday night, sometimes at his place, sometimes at mine. We cook together, usually something simple, and talk about everything and nothing. He helped me paint my apartment. I helped him donate all the wedding gifts that couldn't be returned. We started a small business together using my divorce settlement, a consulting firm that helps companies uncover internal fraud. Turns out our trauma had a marketable skill set. My parents, in the strangest plot twist of all, are dating again. Not remarrying, they're clear about that, but dating. The crisis of the wedding, seeing their children's pain, brought them together in a way 20 years of separation couldn't. My father left Patricia 2 months after the wedding, said he realized he'd been trying to recreate something with her instead of fixing what was broken with my mother. They go to couples therapy every week, even though they're not technically a couple. It's weird and wonderful and completely unexpected. As for me, I'm in therapy twice a week, processing not just the betrayal, but the years of signs I missed or ignored. The late nights that didn't quite make sense, the new cologne I didn't recognize, the way David would sometimes flinch when his phone rang. I'm learning to trust my instincts again, to value my own judgment. I've also started dating tentatively. His name is Samuel, and we met in a support group for people who've experienced betrayal trauma. He's a widower, which is different from divorce but carries its own kind of pain. His wife didn't betray him, but cancer did, taking her just when they'd started planning for children. We understand each other's grief in a way that's hard to explain. We take walks, go to museums, cook dinner together. It's slow and careful, and exactly what I need. Last week, Marcus had another wedding, a small backyard ceremony with just 20 guests. He married Grace in a simple ceremony, with only the people who had proven themselves trustworthy. I was his best woman again, and this time my speech was different. "Truth isn't always comfortable," I said, looking at my brother and his new bride. "Sometimes it's painful, explosive, destructive. But lies, even the ones we tell ourselves to keep the peace, are worse. They're a poison that seeps into everything, corrupting from the inside out." I looked around those small gathering, our rebuilt family, our chosen family. Marcus taught me that protecting the people you love sometimes means making hard choices. It means sacrificing your own happiness to reveal a truth that needs to be seen. It means loving someone enough to let them hate you for a moment so they can heal for a lifetime. I raised my glass to Marcus and Grace. Your love is built on truth, on daily choices to be honest, even when it's hard to be real, even when it's messy. That's not just love, that's courage. The reception was small, intimate, real. No pretense, no performance. Just people who loved each other celebrating something genuine. My mother danced with my father to their old wedding song, both of them crying. Marcus held Grace like she was made of spun gold, whispering something that made her laugh into his shoulder. And me, I danced with Samuel, feeling something I hadn't felt in years, maybe ever. Not the desperate need to be loved that I'd had with David. Not the fear of being alone, but something quieter. Peace, maybe. Or the beginning of it. This morning I received a letter from David in prison. I've gotten several over the months, all sitting unopened in a box in my closet. But this one was different. The envelope had, "Please read, important," written on it in his familiar handwriting. I held it over the garbage can for a long moment, then set it on my counter, still unopened. Maybe I'll read it someday. Maybe I'll burn it. Right now it doesn't matter. What matters is that I survived. We survived, Marcus and I and our parents, and even Tom in his own way. We took something that should have destroyed us and turned it into something that made us stronger. The wedding that was meant to unite two families instead revealed the lies holding us together. But in that destruction, in that moment when everything fell apart, we found something real. We found that truth, even when it hurts, even when it destroys everything you thought you knew, is the only foundation worth building on. Some families are destroyed by the truth. Others are reforged by it, stronger in the broken places. We're the second kind, and that's worth more than any perfect wedding, any perfect marriage, any perfect lie could ever be. Looking back, I'm grateful Marcus did what he did. It was brutal, yes. It was humiliating, definitely. But it was necessary. He loved me enough to destroy his own wedding to save me from a marriage built on lies. That's family. That's love. That's the kind of truth that sets you free even when it first feels like it's killing you. So if you're watching this and you're living with secrets, if you're choosing comfort over truth, if you're protecting lies to preserve an image, remember this: the truth will come out. It always does. The only question is whether you'll be the one to reveal it or the one destroyed by it. Marcus chose to be the revealer, the controlled demolition instead of the unexpected explosion. And because of that choice, we're all still standing scarred, but standing broken, but building hurt, but healing. That's our story. A wedding destroyed a family rebuilt, and the hard truth that sometimes the greatest act of love is showing someone the painful reality they need to see. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Have you ever had to choose between a comfortable lie and a painful truth? What did you choose? Let me know in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please consider liking and subscribing. Share it with someone who might need to hear that surviving betrayal is possible, that families can be rebuilt. That truth, no matter how painful, is always better than a beautiful lie. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember, you're stronger than you think, and you deserve a love built on truth.